went to St. Mark's Church also. There must be a thing over there.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go there.
Yeah. Well, actually,
I did cut down on the gas usage of people going to two churches.
I did find you there. I went and sat for a long time, and it was very wonderful.
Same.
I've been running for a long, long time. And this last running, I got on a plane to New York and Washington and then came back here. And a month ago, we had Satsang here. And you told the story of the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, yes.
I left then and went back to Port Reyes, where I stayed for a month in a house up on the top of a mountain. And when I got there, there was a storm that came through, and it rained for 3 days and nights, and the winds were terrific, and it blew out all the electricity, so there was no light, no phone, no nothing. And for 3 days and nights, Adi, I sat in front of the fire with the Bhagavad Gita story. And I cried and cried when I saw it. And so I saw myself in the middle of these two armies, and I saw myself looking. Every attachment showed up right there.
Yes.
And the door blew open, and everything came in. Mm-hmm. I had to stop. What was I going to do in the middle of a rainstorm like that? I really started looking, and you know what I saw?
What did you see?
The attachment to what's sitting there.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Slay it.
Slay it. You know that friend of yours you've got with that sword?
Yes.
That. Like that. So I cried and cried. I mean, it was terrible. So I saw that my attachment to enlightenment, attachment to awakening, and attachment to all of this.
Right.
And I could never have it because the I was in the way.
Yeah, it's attached to it. Yeah.
That was what it was.
That's right.
Because as long as I was here, then you were there too. And it
comes a package deal.
Yeah, yeah. And I got fired. I got fired, not you, but I was the one that was fired. I was the one burning away in that fire.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of that story of the Bhagavad Gita, is it's showing that when we think of letting go of attachments, people tend to think of all the sort of traditional attachments, which are basically negative. But the Bhagavad Gita, that first scene, is basically showing your biggest attachments lie in your heart. They lie in the things you value most, not just the things you think are spiritually inferior and you just can't let go of. No. The things you value most tie you to the dream state more than all the negative things.
And you were my tie.
Yeah.
You were it. So about a week or two later, I did go and find a copy of the Bhagavad Gita just to check it out, see if you were really telling the story, if I got it all. So what did I read? The first line, it would be better to spend the rest of my life as a pauper begging for food than to kill those honored teachers. Mm-hmm. You see, when he looked at all those attachments, and he lists them here, he said, I looked around. He didn't say father, mother, and everything. He said first teacher, then father thing. I missed that in the story. I don't know that you told it like that.
I don't know either.
Well, that's the way I read it.
It all goes as a package deal.
Yeah, that was it. And it was the teacher. And then I looked and I saw that what was sitting there was standing here. Mm-hmm. No different. No different. It was all the same.
That's the sameness.
Yeah.
Yep. The sameness is only seen in the slaying of anything that causes separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it was slick, I realized what had happened. And it was a done deal because it was a month and I didn't want to write to you about it. I didn't want to talk about it because I was afraid, what if it's not real? What if it, but it's not. It's a done deal. Mm-hmm. There's no going back. I tried to put the pieces back together. They don't fit. It was just, it took the stopping, though.
Yeah.
That's what it took.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So when something like this, a realization happens, I usually go to the poets to see how they say it. And usually it's Rumi or something, or Hafez, or I look at David White. And this time it was Mary Oliver. I opened her book, and this was the poem that I read. She says, "Our new dog, named for the beloved poet, ate a book which unfortunately we had left unguarded. Fortunately, it was the Bhagavad Gita." Right. See how the mystery plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I read it, then I knew.
Right on target.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
It was like the Bhagavad Gita had eaten me.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah. And then this says, it wants to move. Mm. This wants to move. There's something in me that says that it's time to move. I knew that I had come this far. It's time to thank the boat and get out and realize there's no boatman. There's nobody. There was this journey, but now it seems that there's a part that's alone. Because I always was alone, but I didn't know it. But this part
you didn't
now.
know it. Yeah, actually, the whole thing of the boat going to the other shore is comforting. Yes. Actually, what the boat does is take you into the middle of the ocean, spring a leak, and sink. Yes, that's what it really does. As long as it gets you to the other shore, you got to row out there a little farther.
Right, right.
Yeah. The whole idea is not to get to the other shore.
Yes. Yeah. But there's still thankfulness and gratitude to where it got.
Yes.
But there's something different about now this part of it. Is it that the I is not here? And that's what I'm feeling, the aloneness. Not just that you're not there, but I'm not here. Mm-hmm. I'm not the one that's realized this. The realization has. That's it.
And you will continue to see.
Yes.
How it goes. Watch that eye. It's a real bugger.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on up.
My wife and I have not escaped the fact that three of our four parents have died in the last, 20 years really, but and that the fourth one is well on his way. And then we look at each other and say, we're not right, but we're somewhere behind them.
Yeah.
And we're next.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you suggest dealing with the inevitable? You talked about dealing with the fear, the ultimate fear in me and my wife, at least.
Yeah.
Is of the aging process, as my mother used to like to call it, and death.
Yeah, sure. As my grandmother say, getting old's not for wimps. That was one of her mantras.
Or sissies. That was Alt Linkletter.
That'll work too, yeah. Well, like anything else, face it, face the fear of it. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Just don't move from it.
Yeah.
Just face it. Don't make a whole lot about it.
Yeah.
In terms of all the ideas, because that just gets into a whole analysis. But just really face the fear.
Yeah.
So there's fear.
Yeah.
So there's fear. Okay. That's one of those fierce graces.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a grace, but I don't want to just call it a grace because that's...
Not when you're in the middle of it.
No, that tends to belittle the situation.
Yes.
It's a fierce grace when you really start to confront your own mortality. Right?
Yes.
And you really see,
I came through a depression this year, probably the second one. I did one when I retired from teaching about 6 years ago. Yeah. And then got started again and did part-time teaching, and then got bronchitis over and over, and then really fell into it. Is this going to be winter, you know? And came through it really with the help of my Sangha and my church and my family. If they hadn't supported me, I'm not sure I would have made it.
Yeah.
But now, each time I come out of a depression, I really am stronger and more centered.
Yeah.
And hopefully able to carry it through to the next one, whatever comes next.
We'll see.
We sure will.
We'll see. Yeah. But, you know, these kind of things are also a opportunity.
Yes.
You know, to see who dies.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing as what's alive now.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
What's here now? What's going to die then?
Yeah.
And you know, you can, like they say in all the spiritual traditions, let die what's going to die. That doesn't mean, you know, jump off a bridge, because that's not what people are afraid of.
Yes. No, it isn't.
If someone was 100% convinced that they survived physical death, people wouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
They're afraid of something else dying. They're afraid of themselves dying.
Yeah, the big old ego. You know?
Yeah, well, of course, they think they are the body, so hence they're afraid of the body. But what is it that dies? And can you let it die?
Yeah.
While alive?
Yes.
And it may be frightening.
It is.
But that's orients you. Okay, yeah. As I say, when you start to experience fear in the spiritual path, it's not telling you you've gone the wrong direction.
No.
It's frequently telling you you finally made a right turn.
Yes.
You're in the vicinity of reality, and the me gets afraid in the vicinity of reality because it's in the vicinity of an immensity that it cannot comprehend.
Right. And you can't hide from the fear any longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fear is telling you that's where to surrender.
Yes.
You know? We want the pearly gates to be, you know,
yes,
angels and wonderful music and
welcoming committee.
Right. And it's usually just the opposite.
Yeah.
The gate is something like fear.
Yeah. But it's our fear, not the fear.
Absolutely. It's just fear.
It's so easy to talk about this stuff, but much harder to live it.
It is. That's right. Right. This is the easy part.
It is.
Right. But really invite that fear when it shows up. Mm-hmm. Right? The fear, right? What if I let die what's afraid of dying right now? Yes. Right? And what am I? What am I really, right? When that dies, what am I?
I guess we'll find out.
It's the only way to find out.
Right.
Let me know what you find out, will you?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Yeah. In fact, for a lot of people, there are exceptions to this rule, but for a lot of people, you know, when they go through bouts of depression, it's a very rational response to the dream state. If you think about it, it makes good sense. Often it's times when the ego is sort of seen through a certain crack, and it's going, oh, God, it's meaningless. Life's meaningless. I'm meaningless. We're meaningless. There's no point to this, right? And we are taught, of course, to go, don't see that. Get better. Don't look at that. It'll depress you, right? Right. We want to rescue you. But that's one way to approach it. But also, often, there's something very significant that's being seen. Yes, this whole facade that we walk around living in, you peer through it, it's not a pretty sight. It doesn't have meaning. It's all made up meaning, right? People are just making up meaning, and it's meaningless. And people are pretending to be the person that they aren't actually. And that has no meaning. And it's all fake, and it's phony, and it's not pleasant to see, so the reaction is depression. But that's an indication often, wait a minute, you may be seeing something, you may be getting much closer to reality than you ever suspected.
That is how I'm sensing it now, because I'm in a place now that I've never really been, where I'm really stable and really able to really see and do things as they are rather than I would like them or like them not to be. Yeah. But it's kind of like in looking backwards, it appears that whole thing was a grace-filled period, and the ego was fighting like absolute hell to hang on.
Right.
And there was nothing to hang on to.
Right. Hence the depression.
Shitty.
That's the very definition of this kind of depression. Is the ego is fighting, but now there's nothing for it to hang on to.
Right.
It's fighting to hold on, and there's nothing to hold on to. So its response to that
what's going underground?
Is to
I'm
go
out
underground.
Of here, you know?
Right. Right. And in a certain way, that's encouraged.
Yes.
Right? And if you spoke to me at times like that, I'd go, well, of course. You don't have to lie to yourself. You're seeing something very significant. You may be seeing through the facade of this whole dream state that causes so much suffering.
Yeah.
Oh, of course your ego may be in a drastic reaction to that.
Absolutely.
An extremely painful reaction to that.
It was all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you see, as far as I'm concerned, go through it.
Yep.
Go through it. Hold that ego to the flame and keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what, with a lot of help from my friends and groups, I've been able to do.
Lucky for you.
Absolutely.
Lucky for you. Nice to talk with you.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got a few minutes. Anybody else? Come on up. Good evening.
Hi. I've been around for about 5 years, and this is the first time I've talked to you.
Well, it's about time, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Wonderful.
So,
what's your name?
Joan.
Joan. I'm glad you made it up here, Joan.
Thank you. I guess I'm going to talk a little bit about fear. I did actually go on a retreat in 2004, and I came back and I was really full of fear.
Yeah.
So I went to a satsang and you weren't there. Mukti was there, and she saw it right away and talked about it to me, and it was really helpful.
Oh, good.
Because right then I was able to just look at it and see it.
Yeah.
And like right now I can feel it, but it's okay. It's here and it's fine.
Wonderful. See, well, you're not resisting it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my body's reacting to it.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, things have been falling away for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of people talk about it. It's very helpful. And I want to thank them. I want to thank you. But like the people who are around me, close to me, they don't get it.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
But I don't feel alone. I often hear people talk about feeling alone because of that. And it's just not there. There's no loneliness.
Good.
So that's nice.
Not a prerequisite that you walk around feeling lonely. Yeah.
Well, it's just interesting when you hear other people talk about their experience, because pieces fit and pieces don't.
Exactly. We all are in the way that things will appear to us and open up, they'll be very unique. And at the same time, there'll be these overarching, very sort of typical, common things that we see and experience. But and then you never know how a particular body will react to that. Very unique. Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Whatever it does. I love it. It's all wonderful.
Yeah.
So even this shaking.
Even people not
great.
Understanding.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it nice that when you realize they don't have to understand?
They don't have to.
No, how perfect they are not to.
Yeah.
How glorious they are not to understand.
Yes.
It can be fun to talk to somebody that doesn't understand you at all. Because, God, maybe you can quit trying to be understood.
Yeah.
Which is actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know, I find it much more fun trying to understand somebody else than trying to get them to understand me. Yeah, I mean, that's a lost cause right off the top.
Yeah. Even that, though, is interesting, trying to understand someone else.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know where to begin anymore.
No, that's impossible, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to try, but you'll never actually achieve it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. In fact, that's the interesting thing. The more we actually look at someone with the eye to understand, the more we realize the incredible mystery of everyone and everything.
Yeah.
That nobody and nothing is solvable. Nobody is ultimately knowable because everybody is ultimately the unknown, and so therefore not knowable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. And could you pass that on to Mukti as well?
I'll pass it on to her.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's one of the most wonderful demands of ego to finally let go of, is that demand, because that's primarily what ego is, right? It is one demand after another, is the demand to be understood. What a relief when the demand to be understood disappears. With the demand to be agreed with or liked or any of the demands, but the demand to be understood is one of the most fierce egoic demands, is it not? Right? I mean, that's so many human dramatic instances happen, like, you just don't understand me, you know? You're right. Understood because you realize there's no such thing for an ego to be understood in a way that will totally satisfy it. Not for long, maybe like for a little bit, but how much more delightful when we realize, when we connect with something underneath that, right? You can't even understand yourself. How do you imagine somebody else is going to understand you? And the more you look into your nature, the more mysterious you become. As Ramana said, you realize self-realization is you realize you are the self, not a self, the self. But if you're really realized, you can't say what the self is. The self is an awake mystery. That's all you can say. If you can define it, it's something you can look at. It's separate from you. That's the sacred dimension. You and I and everything is the unknown, no matter what fancy words we give it. Nice to be with you tonight. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.